look at the questions that you have up here. And try and get those cleared up before you take your quiz and as you're getting ready for your review. So as I look at question number 3, in question number 3, first thing I want to do is write those as an ordered pair. It is telling me in number 3 that the 1 point is at 3:11.1. So this is really an ordered pair. So when they give that sequence of A sub 3 is 11.1, this is 3 is 11.1, and that 7 is 23.9. First thing I am going to need is to find the what as I look at that equation. What is my first thing that I need to find? Put it in either form. What did you say, Otto? Slope. I need to find the m. I'm going to take the 23.9 minus 11.1 divided by 7 minus 3. So I have 4. And in the top I had, what, 12.8? And so I do that division, and my slope is m is equal to, we should have had 3.2. So I want to write an explicit formula. There's 2 ways of writing an explicit formula. One is almost slope-intercept, and the other one is when you have the first term. This is for the 0. This is when you are using the first term. At this point, you can either go point-slope or slope-intercept. I kind of like slope-intercept a little better in that I'm going to go with y equals, I'm going to put my slope in right away, plus b. And I am trying to find b. And so I look at that and I'm going to use the first point. So I'm replacing the y going with what? 11.1 equals 3.2, and then, oh, this should have had an x here. And then I'm taking it times the 3, and I'm adding b. So I have 11.1 is equal to, here I'm going to have 9.6 plus b. Subtracting 9.6 from both sides, 11.1 minus 9.6, I get b to be 1.5. In order to write an explicit formula, the easiest way is use slope-intercept. A to the n equals my slope, 3.2 times n plus 1.5. If I am using the first term, I then want to go into this equation and replace the 1. Replace n equals 1 in this equation, and I get a to the n would be my first term. My a to the 1 would actually be 3.2 plus 1.5 gives me 4.7. I would then go to this equation and put, 3.2 times n minus 1 plus 4.7. You cannot have, like if you use point slope and you had n minus 3 here or n minus 7, this has to be n minus 1 in order for it to be the explicit formula. It has to be like kind of like the previous one. So the easiest one, I think, is with the 0 form, where you are simply leaving it just like this. That counts as slope, that counts as explicit. Or you're looking at this one and the second one, when you look at it, it has, because this is your first term, whereas here, so this is our first term, whereas here, this is the 0 term. Okay, so it just depends which way. I would take either one of these on the test. I'd take either one on the quiz. Yes?
How do you know if it's n minus 1? Like, is it always n minus 1?
If you have the first term here, if you found the first one in your sequence, then you're going to have n minus 1. If you found the 0 term, then you're just going to have n. So you can decide which form, both of these, I would give credit for either one. So on the test, sometimes you're given a recursive formula. Like if I was given part B in number 3, I would have written, if I was given recursive, I would have gone to this one and I would have written this. I would not rewrite it this way, right? Because in the recursive, they have to give you the first formula, the first term. they have to leave it with 4.7. So I already know that going in here. And then when I look at this, to find the previous one, that's a to the n minus 1. And what was my constant rate of change? That's the plus 3.2. So if I was given this second one is the easiest one to write. If I'm only given the points, I might use the first one. Does that make sense? That you can go between the two and it just kind of depends which one is easier for that problem. I agree number 4 was a little trickier with that. We're not going to worry about 4. I don't have one with variables. We're not going to, at least I'm not going to take the time with that one in class. I'd rather look at a couple of these other ones that we need to make sure before you take this quiz. So this one is saying, is this formula explicit or recursive or neither? So we have a rate of change. We have, it looks like our first term, and this is our n minus 1. So we would say this is a explicit because it doesn't give us the first term, right? Why is it explicit? Because if we are looking at that, we could have something along the lines of, because it's in explicit form, because it gives us the constant difference or that common difference, and it's looking at the first term. So something along that line. And then the question is, how do we find t to the 99? You replace 10 plus 7 times 99 minus 1, or 98. Or was it 88? 89. So you could have had 7 times 88 plus 10 to get that answer. Okay. Number 8B. All right, so when we look at number 8, do we know, it says they're testing 320 vehicles every week. Write an explicit formula. Do we know our rate of change? A to the n equals, each week we're testing 320 n. What's the zero term? Well, if we're just starting it, it would have been like plus 0, right? That's the easiest explicit formula to write, right? That is with my 0. Oh, but I want to do it with the first term, right? So I would take that answer for an answer, but you like writing it with n minus 1, so you want to do it for the first term. If we're doing it for the first, it's then going to look like this, right? It's going to still be 320, that rate of change, but now this is n minus 1. And then it is plus, well, if we did 320 the first day, this is going to, or the first week, this is going to be after the first, that is my first term, is 320. So now it says, well, when are you going to get the 240,000? Well, the easiest one to use is the first one. 240,000 equals 320n divided by 320. Okay. Remember that first term, so both of these are explicit, either one is correct when you look at that. That's why they gave you both answers when you looked at that, okay? Number 11. Let's look at 11. So 11 and 12, we're not handing this in today, we'll probably hand this in tomorrow. But for both 11 and 12, they are telling you that Stu and Penelope decided to run for part of their exercise. They start by jogging 14 miles first week. You want to be thinking, oh, first week, so this is my week, we went 14 miles. What's the next order pair? Well, on the 25th week, they want to jog 28 miles. So 25, 28. If the number of miles jogged successive week is an arithmetic sequence, meaning we're adding something constant, what should their weekly increase be? Do we have to write it in explicit or recursive form for this? Does it ask us to do that? It only asks us what should be the weekly increase, which means you're really trying to find the slope, your rate of change. That's all they're asking for in that question. You don't have to write the equation. You're just asked to find either the slope or rate of change. Just show me how you get the slope, right? And when you do that last one, when you are looking at that, this one, they say, find the cash difference between the prices. Again, what we are looking for is, as we look at that one, you might want to think of these as ordered pairs too. First place winner gets the 100,000. If you're the 10th place winner, how many dollars do you get? And if we are looking at that, it's asking to find the cash difference in the price. That means we're kind of looking at, if we know it's arithmetic, again, what are we trying to find? So thinking about that as you look at it, okay? So we are not handing this in. If you still have questions, make sure you kind of look at those answers in the back and try and get them cleared up. Questions going between recursive, explicit, okay? I'm gonna hand out the